Welcome back to Test.io Open Mic, the podcast that explores the fascinating world of software testing. I'm your host, Charlie, and today we're continuing our Testers Spotlight series with a guest from the Philippines. Joining us is Ara, also known as Celine TLGS, in our Discord community, a community supporter who's made quite an impact. Ara, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Charlie. It's great to be here.
We're excited to have you. Let's start by getting to know you a bit better. Could you tell us about yourself?
Of course, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I'm planning to study and pass the board exam to become a registered psychometrician soon. My daily routine includes studying, writing, and working out. I'm particularly fond of Pilates. I love nature, especially seeing greens and mountains. As for food, I'm a vegan, which is a lifestyle choice I made after reading the China study and watching several documentaries about environmental impact.
That's fascinating. Welcome to the V team. What led you to choose a vegan lifestyle?
Well, the China study is considered one of the most comprehensive studies on nutrition ever conducted. But what really struck me was learning that it takes about 660 gallons of water to produce just one burger. As someone who's environmentally conscious, that information really motivated me to go vegan. However, I don't judge others for their dietary choices. I believe it's about personal circumstances and awareness.
That's a very thoughtful approach. Now let's talk about your journey into testing. How did you get started on the Test.io platform?
It actually started during the pandemic. I was looking for online jobs and came across a video about earning money by finding bugs in apps and websites. That led me to Test.io. I was so eager that I studied for a few hours and passed the onboarding process. But I have to say, it wasn't smooth sailing from there. Almost all my first submitted bugs got rejected, and I was only earning about 20-70 euros a month. I nearly quit.
Many testers can probably relate to that challenging start, myself included. What kept you going?
Despite having no prior knowledge about software testing, I found it interesting. There was something rewarding about submitting a bug report and having it forwarded by the team leader. That sense of accomplishment kept me here.
You've come a long way since then. Now you're also a community supporter. What do you enjoy about that role?
I love being able to help others. It feels like a dream job for me. I should mention that I'm actually quite introverted. It's often hard for me to talk to strangers. This role has challenged my fears, and I'm grateful for that. It's been a positive experience.
That's wonderful to hear. Based on your experience, what advice would you give to newcomers on our platform?
The most important thing is to remember that life isn't a race. Walk at your own pace. Don't quit too quickly, even if it takes time to progress. You'll face challenges and confusion at the start, but that's normal. Don't hesitate to ask for help. You're not alone. Rely on others, and most importantly, believe in yourself. It might sound cliché, but it's scientifically proven that self-belief can help you achieve a lot.
That's great advice, Ara. Now, let's switch gears a bit. If you could instantly learn anything in just half an hour, what would it be?
I'd love to learn how to develop and create applications. Specifically, I'd want to create an app focused on studying and learning. Something with features for taking notes, self-quizzes, and summarizing articles, modules, and books. I think it could make studying easier and more engaging, not just for students, but also for our testers, to help them learn and review the academy materials.
That sounds like it could be a really useful tool. Speaking of learning, how many languages do you speak?
I speak two languages fluently, Filipino and English. I also know a bit of Spanish since some words are very similar to Filipino. If I were to learn another language, I'd be interested in Korean or Japanese.
Interesting choices. Now let's talk about travel. What's the most beautiful place you've ever visited?
Recently, I visited Singapore, and the architecture there is mind-blowing. The airport alone is impressive. It's the second best in the world, with features like a sky train, an indoor waterfall, and gardens. The city itself is beautiful too, often called the Garden City, because of how they blend greenery with urban architecture. The people are incredibly kind as well. You never feel like a foreigner there.
Singapore does sound amazing. One last question. Do you have any pets?
Currently, I don't have any pets, but I've had many over the years. Birds, fish, dogs, and cats. 3 years ago, I rescued a street kitten. Unfortunately, she was very sick and passed away after a week, despite my efforts to get her veterinary care. I named her Jody, and she was a very gentle kitten, the only one who got along with my aunt's dog. She's forever missed.
I'm sorry to hear about Jodie, but it's heartwarming to know you gave her love and care in her final days. Thank you so much for sharing your story and insights with us today, Ara. Your journey from psychology graduate to community supporter is truly inspiring. To our listeners, if Ara's experience has sparked your interest in testing, remember that Test.io welcomes testers from all backgrounds. You can find links to get started in our show notes. That's all for this episode of Test.io Open Mic. If you enjoyed this conversation, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, happy testing.